Okay, so the general workflow for doing this part of the shot is the next. First thing that we have to do is, or that I recommend you to do, is to work small. We've been doing that since the last couple of sections, and I always like to, when things are starting to get complex and there's like a lot of things going on in a few frames, I always work small. And the main reason is because by making small sections working good completely with all the characters, basically I'm boosting my motivation. I'm starting to see how everything is starting to look good. If I would take the whole shot and make everything work, for example, I'm gonna be working in the different parts of the body, for example, and if I'm working on the chest, and I try to make the chest work in all the shot, it will take forever, right? That's why I always recommend to work little by little, not even bit by bit, even every 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 frames, whatever that you feel that is easy to handle, just do so, right? So the first thing that we are going to be doing is just to work small, okay? So this is definitely a pretty long shot.
So, how to do
that more or less the first thing I did was, I think actually was, I went back to the
how to do impressions.
Something like that. Probably I just focus on this first 68 frames. So I know that this is all my range, okay, but I'm just focusing on this, and I don't really want to know more about this. And I won't continue working on the next part of this shot till everything is done more or less in a way that is happy and final here, right? So now the version or the idea of final is in my mind. I really want to get the best quality that I can, okay? So I'm gonna do it in only these 70 frames first. So I do 70 now, maybe later I'll do 90, maybe later I'll do 100, maybe later I'll do 50. But this is the process, okay? The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna be focusing on the main parts of the body that are moving, hierarchically speaking, okay? The main part of the body, hierarchically speaking, are the COG, then is the spine, then is the neck and the head. I always recommend to work with this together. Then shoulders, then elbows and hands, which is the whole arm or the whole arms, and then knees and feet, which is the whole leg or legs. In this case, since our character is seated, that's one of the reasons of why I picked this shot. We're only basically gonna be working on focusing in the chest area, then the head and the neck, and then the limbs and the two arms. We have a very small moment working with the legs, but more or less you get the idea. First thing that we're gonna do, well, there is a moment where the character is sitting back, so before doing anything else, I pay attention to the COG or to the body. But what I do is, whatever we're doing, all the techniques that we're gonna be saying, we do by order of importance or by order of hierarchy. This is exactly the same system and the same methodology or workflow that I do on Polish, or most of the people they do on a spline, which is working layers, but still by order of importance, or by order of hierarchy. We go from the most important to the less important. And so what we do, we go part of the body by part of the body, applying these techniques that I recommend you. At least the techniques that I recommend you are arcs first, then we do all the spacing, we look at the ease-ins and the ease-outs, we do follow-throughs and overlaps, squats and stretch later, and here where all the smears comes up, And finally, some secondary actions very roughly. In this character, we have mainly those two hairs. That's probably the only secondary animation that we have. I'm not one of those persons who consider fingers a secondary animation. Some animator does, but to me, fingers and hand is a very expressive. As one of the actually one of the most important parts of the body in order to be expressive. So that's one of the main parts that I put like a lot of attention, and I attack it first in previous stages. So that's why I don't consider fingers secondary at all. And after we do that, we do like a final pass of facial animation, mostly on the eyes and the brows. We already done lip sync. Actually, basically in this stage, I barely touch anything in the mouth because everything should be working now on the mouth after the two stages that we just have done. So basically, everything that we're going to be doing is going to be on brows and eyes. So basically speaking, we go part by part, okay, hierarchically speaking, applying this technique. So we start with the COG, and we look at the COG one. In this case, in this shot, talking about this shot, first thing I do is I look at the chest, and the chest, then I observe the arcs, then I keep going on chest, and I look at the his-ins and his-outs, then I keep going, looking at the chest. Do I have an opportunity to do some kind of follow through on overlap? Yes, no. I keep working on chest. Do I want to do some kind of smears or squash and stretch? Yes, no. Secondary, because this is not a secondary part of the character. We don't do any kind of secondary animation on the chest. But then after that, I jump into the neck and the head. Same kind of system. Arcs, ease-ins and ease-outs. Then what was the next one? Follow-throughs and overlaps with the chest. Do I start to apply breaking the joints and all that? Do I want to maybe delay the head or maybe be forward? Do I want to then next? Do I want to do squash and stretch, some smears, blah, 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 blah. And that's the process. So you stop in each part of the body and in each technique, and you apply that little by little. This is a way of, let's say, working by layers, what it's called, okay? Because you, in each part of the body, you add something different, add something new. So that's the way to go. Something that is very important to this part of the process is to follow up each part of the body, right? What I recommend you is to always find a part of the body that is easy to recognize. Like, for example, in the neck, we can see that line, right? That's very easy to follow up in order to see what are we doing, what are those trajectories. Now we're really paying attention to the trajectories because we're doing arcs, we're doing ease-ins, we're doing ease-outs. For that, we really need to go frame by frame and to pay attention to how everything is doing. So using your eye is something that eventually it comes out very naturally, and you're gonna be able to see how the spacing is working or how are the arcs going. And after a few years and really after doing like a lot of job, it's something that comes out naturally. But till we reach that point at the very beginning, I recommend you to always use some kind of tool that visually helps you to follow things up, okay? For that, I have two techniques for you. Or two tools for you. One is one that I have that is called Screen Brush. This is something that I actually started to use very recently. Screen Brush. You know, I already gave you the link in the description and in the handbook. So this is just basically a tool. It even has a mode that is called, I believe, where was it? Yes. Oh yeah, Ghost mode. Okay, which basically I can keep working on my scene, and if I press a button, in this case I'm on Mac, so I'm pressing Fn, which I guess is called function, and when I do that, I can just paint. Oh, I'm doing that. Tick, tick, tick. and you can follow things up, right? Oh, look at that, very nice spacing. Okay, so this is one technique, or one, let's say, a more modern way of working, which I don't like at all. I'm just using this for teaching purposes because it's easy for you, but when I'm working and I'm just animating by myself and I'm not talking and explaining anything, my favorite way of working is, oh, here it is. It's my acetate. Can you see that? This is an acetate or a transparent sheet, something that you can put on top, and this is my most favorite tool ever, which is using the marker in order to just simply bleep, draw in and do all the notes that whatever I want. I use this for if I want to do a curve or something. Let me get rid of that. If I want to draw like a trajectory or something, I just draw it and I say, okay, this is where I want to go. If I want to create some kind of spacing or something, I do it as well, and I paint it. So this is my main tool that I do for everything. For tracking trajectories, I still do it. I mean, as I was saying, after some years, I developed the capacity to see how the trajectories or how the curves and how is the spacing more or less looking by eye. But I rely a lot on this, mainly on smears and all that. We're gonna talk about that. But this is a very important tool in order to follow everything up. And of course, I use my finger to clean it up. So it's important that this is not a permanent thing. It has to be like a whiteboard marker. So yeah, that's pretty much it. All the workflow. Things are starting to get complex. Like lots of things are starting to happen. So that's why it's always good to keep a way to see, let's say, with one simple look of what is happening. What is happening to my elbows in all the trajectories? Boom, 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 and you mark it. Or what is happening to how is this overshoot going? Or how should I drag my head and I draw it? Anyways, we're going to be doing that in a few more classes. So I'm just introducing to you to this technique way of working. Another way of doing this, if you work in a good company or a bad company that have like all the screens that they don't really care, maybe they're gonna get rid of them. You can ask for one of those and just simply draw in the monitor if it's gonna be wasted, or if it really doesn't really matter. I used to have that too, with some broken pixels here and there, and the color wasn't great, but hey, it did the work, so it was very easy for me to just do all the work. So now more or less now that we have how it's going to be the workflow, let's go to our shot and see how I did start to work with all these different techniques. You're going to see that I'm going to support myself with this a lot, but not only that, we're using the screen brush tool in order to more or less talk about a few things. So let's go.